It's something we've all probably thought about. When a loved one passes and we're left with all their stuff, their belongings, it can feel really overwhelming.
Oh, absolutely. Like, where do you even start? And it's not just about the sheer amount of stuff, is it?
No, it's so much more than that. Letting go of their things can feel like letting go of a part of them. And that's what we're diving into today, this idea of grief decluttering.
It's such a heavy topic, isn't it? So much more than just cleaning house.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we've got this great article from CNA Lifestyle about a KonMari consultant in Singapore who actually specializes in helping people through this. A KonMari consultant, you say?
Right. Now, you might be thinking, isn't KonMari all about just getting rid of things?
Hmm.
And in a way, yeah, I guess it is. The basic idea is to only keep things that spark joy.
Okay, I get that. But how do you decide if, like, your grandma's old teacups spark joy when they also make you burst into tears? You know what I mean?
Exactly. That's the thing. When it comes to the belongings of someone we've lost, almost everything has emotional weight. It's totally different.
It's a whole different ballgame, yeah. So tell me about this KonMari consultant. Who is she?
Her name is Markini Constance Lim. She actually runs a business called Minimize with Joy. And while she started out doing more traditional KonMari, she's really found a niche in this area of grief decluttering.
Minimize with joy. I love that. It really gets to the heart of what this is all about.
Yeah.
But how did she even get into this specific type of decluttering?
Well, it all started with a client who had a rather unusual request, you could say.
Oh,
Yeah, she came to Lim needing help dealing with her deceased brother's belongings. And I think it was that experience that kind of sparked Lim's whole journey into grief decluttering.
it makes sense, right? Because it is such a unique situation.
Yeah.
Dealing with the belongings of someone who's gone, every single item probably has a memory tied to it.
You're absolutely right. And it can feel like those memories are all you have left. So letting go of anything feels like letting go of the person themselves.
That's a powerful thought. Letting go of a teacup is like letting go of grandma.
Hmm. So what does this Lim have to say about all of this? Well, in the article, she says that grief decluttering is a healing process. It's not easy, but it is necessary to move forward.
Wow. That's kind of profound, isn't it? Letting go is a way to heal and move forward. It's almost counterintuitive, wouldn't you say?
It is. You'd think holding on to everything would keep them closer, right? But Lim says that clinging to every single item can actually trap you in the past.
So sometimes letting go even just a little can be what frees you to create space for new memories and experiences. I've never thought of it like that before. It reminds me of something mentioned in the article. One of Lim's clients waited 2 years before even starting to deal with his late father's possessions.
2 years, that's a long time.
Yeah, 2 years. And apparently the house was completely untouched, just like a time capsule.
Wow. Even the plastic bags had disintegrated. I mean, it really just shows how overwhelming grief can be, to not even know where to begin.
Almost like this emotional paralysis, where even starting feels impossible.
That's exactly it. And that's why Lim really emphasizes that this is a slow and delicate process. You can't force it, and everyone's timeline is different. Just like that client who waited 2 years, there's no right or wrong way to grieve.
Right, and no set timetable for dealing with their belongings either.
Exactly. You know, this actually reminds me of something I've been reading about. Have you heard of Swedish death cleaning?
Yeah. Is that kind of related to this at all?
Definitely. It's a whole philosophy that encourages us to declutter and simplify our lives while we're still alive, you know?
Okay. To make things easier for our loved ones later on.
Exactly. It's not just about the stuff itself. It's about lessening the emotional burden for those we leave behind.
That's such a thoughtful way to approach it. But let's get back to grief decluttering specifically. So we're talking about this big, complex, emotional process, right? But where does someone even begin? What does this Lim suggest? It all sounds so great in theory, but like, where do you actually start? I mean, it just feels so overwhelming. It can't be as easy as just throwing things away, right?
Oh, no, definitely not. That's why Lim offers some really practical advice in the article.
Okay, good. So she doesn't just tell people to chuck everything out. What does she say?
Well, she gives 5 key tips to help people navigate this whole process. And they're really insightful, and they can make it feel a lot less daunting.
5 tips. Okay, give them to me.
Okay, so tip number 1, it's all about patience and self-compassion. She says, take your time, don't rush the process. Grief has its own rhythm.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. It's not like you can just snap your fingers and be over it, right? I'd imagine each item you pick up probably brings up a wave of emotion.
Absolutely, and that's why her second tip is so crucial.
Okay, I'm listening. What is it?
Remember that the items are not the person.
Ah, I see what you mean.
it's okay to let go of the objects, to let go of the stuff.
I feel like that's got to be a really tough one for people.
It is. We attach so much meaning to things, especially when they belong to someone we loved. But Lim reminds us that letting go of a possession, it doesn't diminish the love or the memories we have.
It's more like making space for them. Right. Okay, so patience in remembering that things don't equal the person. Got it. What's next?
Tip number 3. This one is about asking yourself some key questions.
Key questions. Like what?
Well, to guide your decisions, Lim suggests things like, can this be used or donated? What memories does it evoke? Who else might cherish it? That sort of thing.
Oh, I like that. Those are really helpful prompts. It's like having a framework,
Yeah.
to help make those tough choices.
Exactly. And sometimes just having those questions to focus on can make the process feel less emotionally charged.
So much less pressure.
Yeah.
Okay, what about tip number 4? We're getting there. We're almost done.
Tip number 4 is all about support. Don't be afraid to reach out to friends, family, or even professionals for help. This stuff can be hard,
Oh, I know it. I can only imagine how emotionally draining it must be.
It really can be, and having a support system can make all the difference.
Sometimes just having someone there, someone to listen and understand what you're going through, can be the best help of all. Okay, we're on the last one now, right? Hit me with number 5.
Okay, tip number 5 is honestly one of my favorites.
Ooh, lay it on me.
Create a memory box.
A memory box. I love that idea. So what is it?
It's basically just a special place, a dedicated space for the items that spark joy and evoke positive memories of your loved one, things you want to keep close.
But maybe you don't need to have out all the time, right?
Yeah, you got it. It's almost like creating a little miniature time capsule of love and memories.
That's such a beautiful way to put it. And does the article mention this memory box thing at all? Do they give any examples?
Oh, they do. They give a really great example, actually. One of Lim's clients kept his late father's old mobile phones in his memory box.
Oh, wow. That's so interesting. So not like a super valuable item, just something meaningful.
Right. They weren't fancy or anything, but they represented his father's love for technology, and they reminded him of happy times they had together.
That's such a great illustration of how even seemingly ordinary objects can hold so much meaning and emotion, don't you think? It's really not about keeping everything.
No, you're right. It's about choosing the items that truly resonate with you.
And bring those memories to the surface. The happy ones.
Yeah. And the memory box helps keep those special items safe and organized so you can revisit those memories, whenever you need to. It can be a real source of comfort.
I love that. So to recap Lim's 5 tips, be patient, remember that the things themselves aren't the person, ask yourself those key questions, seek support, and create a memory box. Honestly, those are such helpful tips. I think they apply even outside of grief decluttering.
I agree with you. I think so, too. They're just fantastic principles for mindful living in general, thinking about what we truly value and how our belongings impact those around us, both now and in the future. It's a powerful concept.
So what does all of this mean for our listener today? What's like the main takeaway from all this?
I think the biggest takeaway here is that grief decluttering isn't about forgetting. It's about finding a healthy way to honor the memory of our loved ones while also allowing ourselves to move forward.
To keep living. And it's okay to ask for help along the way.
Oh, absolutely. And I really think Lim's whole approach with the KonMari principles and that emphasis on joy offers a really gentle, compassionate way to navigate this whole process. It can be really challenging.
It can be really, really tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about finding those sparks of joy amidst the sadness and creating a space for healing and remembrance. So I have to ask you, if you were to create a memory box today, what one item would you include and why?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Let me think for a second. You know what I think I would include? The small, worn book of poetry that belonged to my grandmother. It was her absolute favorite, and she used to read to me from it when I was little.
Oh, that's so sweet. Love that. So it's not just the book itself, right? It's all the memories that come with it.
Exactly. It's like a memory within a memory. It represents her love for literature, her gentle spirit, and, it reminds me of the bond we shared.
It's like a physical reminder that she was here, even now.
Uh-huh.
It really is amazing, isn't it, how one little object can just hold so much meaning, so much emotion. It's all tied up in there. And it really brings us back to what Lim was talking about, grief decluttering being a healing process.
It really does.
It's not about erasing the past,
No.
right? It's more about how we carry those memories with us.
You got it. It's about cherishing their legacy, those who we've lost, but also, giving ourselves permission to keep growing, to keep moving forward.
Well said. I love that. So for all of you listening out there, We'll leave you with that same question. What about you? If you were to create a memory box today, what one item would you include? And why?
It's a great thing to think about. Really gives you some perspective on things, what's
Mhm.
truly important. It might even help you think about the legacy you'll leave behind one day.
I like that. Maybe it'll even encourage us to be just a little more mindful in our everyday lives. Really appreciate those small moments of joy and connection with the people we love and the objects, the things that bring us happiness and meaning. Because ultimately, that's what matters, isn't it?
It really is. It's about finding those sparks of joy in the everyday, holding on to what matters.
Thanks for joining us today for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
And in the meantime, keep seeking those sparks of joy.